That's right.
Yeah, always got to give a warm shout out to Mary Lee and her uh, endless supply of content for Comics Online. So this Friday, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the new one. It doesn't have a number. Sorry, folks, it doesn't have a number. The new one, the new one comes out. Let's call it 2019. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019.
That's
Come
what I've been calling.
Yeah, comes out this Friday, and Chad is playing. What's your character name?
Yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. I play a character Alex, or his call sign, which people will be hearing a lot, is Echo 3-1.
Echo 3-1.
So yeah, Echo 3-1 is the call sign. We do a lot of radio chatter, in this game. In the heat of the missions, you'll hear a lot of Echo 3-1
Right on.
in that way.
How we doing here?
So we got a really weird like pulse.
Yeah, it's kind of dropping funny, but hopefully our DJ will fix this here. So how long ago did you begin with Modern Warfare? Now I know you obviously did not only the voice but also some motion capture. When did you start with all that?
Yeah, I this probably going back to last April or May.
Okay.
And you read with the brilliant director Taylor Kurosaki, and one of the writers, Ryan Bloom, and we did an audition for the character of Alex. No idea that it was Modern Warfare whatsoever. It was very NDA, very private, classified, if you will. Heavy on the military stuff. Trying to start to put the context clues together, but that was the audition process, and about a month and a half later, I heard the part was mine, and from then it was all high-tech face scans, and eventually getting mocap stage to suit to play Alex. But yeah, performance capture, full voiceover, the character, as you can see from the pictures. Me with a big, bushy, handsome digital mustache.
Right. So you never actually did grow out the mustache.
That was not mine. Clean shaven pretty much every day, so that you can put all the motion capture, face capture dots on you, which are a lot harder to do with facial hair. So I literally had the opposite of the mustache.
All right. So before this, what was your video game experience like when it comes to acting or playing?
I had done about 3 or 4 days on a video game before called which is kind of one of these, like a detective noir sort of. You play through it, interact as the story unfolds. Definitely not a first-person shooter. That came out for PlayStation a couple of years ago. And before that, I had done a day on a Star Wars project, basically shooting one of the twins in the Star Wars Knights of the Fallen Order. I'm probably getting it wrong. It was an expansion that came out on the game 3 or 4 years ago, so I played one of the twins in the cinematic trailer, and that was one of the first times getting a mocap too. So before Modern Warfare, I had done a little bit of video game work, motion capture, not a lot. So this was kind of my first experience going full tilt with it.
Gotcha. Hey, EK, would you switch this so the fans can see him full and put us in the corner? Hey, there we go. Hey, much better.
You're huge.
Now you're big.
Oh my God, you're gigantic.
Now you're appropriately large.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So when it comes to video game playing, what's been your video game life? Explain it from the beginning until now.
Oh, The shirt actually helps us off appropriately.
There you go.
I feel like my parents were really cool and supportive in everything I wanted to do, except the video games that always got me nested. So it was always kind of 2 or 3 years behind the curve when a console would release. So I caught the end of day Atari, basically when they're selling it on clearance for $20, and you could get the PvP game for like 50 cents.
Yep.
So that was kind of my first foray into video games. The Nintendo came out in the 80s, 3 years after it was hot. It was allowed to finally get one. So that led to Mario and Final Fantasy. And then, we graduated from Nintendo, and we pretty much by that point getting into PC games, playing like the very first bird's eye view Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
A game called Commandos, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, back in like my, Diablo. But I've always loved fantasy, RPG, obviously PlayStation 2 all the way up through, and like the Marvel games and RPG games on them. But I've been playing Warfare for the past 10 years. I'm slogging my way through that's classic right now, which is a blast from the past.
Yeah.
And a lot of Magic the Gathering app called Arena. I'm playing the new Magic card sets. So I'm pretty equal opportunity. I've definitely gone more PC than your traditional button mash or console games, but I'm kind of having a lot of fun playing the old Call of Duty and preparing for the new Call of Duty. So that's been fun, and you can bet next Friday I'll be booting up Modern Warfare 2019 along with the rest of the world.
Yeah, no kidding. So I see you've got to have a good idea. I haven't looked very far into this. Of course, I've watched the trailers and stuff, but my chief whine, and this is not a valid complaint. This is just a whine. Is when it comes to first-person shooters, the publishers really lean hard on well, they might play through the story game, but mostly people are going to jump on and start fighting each other. And I'm not a huge fan of jumping on and fighting each other. I want to play the story game. And so how long do you think we've got for the story to go? And we've lost his his audio entirely.
Oh, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this.
Sorry, folks. We got a little.
Get at home, coming through it all.
Now he's coming through.
Okay, I got you, Kevin, but I lost you there for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I lost you too.
But
it
sounds
good.
better now.
Audio is better, I think.
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So, my last thing I was asking was, are we? How long are we going to see in Modern Warfare 2019? How much story content do you think we've got?
I mean, I know what we filmed, but even then, I never saw a full script. I don't know. I think they've been saying anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to play through the story campaign,
right.
Which I hope everybody does because it's incredible, and the story we're telling here is unbelievable. They got some top-notch actors to come in and really breathe life into these characters, meeting a lot of new characters. Obviously, there's Captain Price, who we've met before, but he's been completely originated by Barry Sloan, who's a phenomenal actor, and the Captain Price character is in great hands with him. But typically, from playing through the old Modern Warfares, it's typically about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how good you are and how often you drop a grenade into your own lap and then have to.
Have you been watching me play? It sounds like you have.
We all start there, don't we?
Yeah,
we all start with flash banging ourselves in the face. I'm like, oh, the screen goes white.
Yeah.
God knows I've done it enough the past few months.
I bet. So they don't have you going and playing ahead of time? You have to wait until the launch day?
I think there's been a couple of opportunities where I could have swung by and played maybe some early versions and whatever, but I got to be honest, I kind of want to be surprised like everyone else. And it's almost kind of like the less I know, the better, because then there's less chance I could screw it up and reveal too many spoilers on interviews like these. But
Fair.
I kind of know where we're going, what we do, and where it's supposed to end, but I don't think I was even told how things are going to end and what's going to come and rise from the ashes or the aftermath of this game. So I'm really excited to see what that is firsthand alongside everybody else, really. But we shot some phenomenal stuff, obviously the mission stuff and the in-game stuff, but we filmed so many really great, wonderful cutscenes in between the mission that I don't know if you've seen some of the trailers and promos out there that take right from these cutscenes, but they're gorgeous and beautiful. And Blur Studios did an amazing job. The people at Infinity Ward, the developers, the publisher, Activision, like this is, I mean, it's mind blowing how good it looks. I remember when the trailer first dropped, people really thought it was a movie.
Yeah.
They thought it was a movie. It was a Call of Duty movie, and that's a good problem now, I suppose.
I agree, definitely. So, how does this feel in comparison to your other military type work? I mean, obviously here you've done how many iterations of Sniper, and here you are once again playing now. And personally, by the way, when it comes to first person shooters or any type of shooters, I like to play the Sniper character because what kind of idiot runs and guns? Oh, wait, half of the people watching this. Sorry, folks. I didn't mean to call you idiots. I'm really just giving my son a lot of trouble. Because he's the guy who can successfully run and gun and not die. And I don't know how that's possible. But so many people are able to do it. And mostly those are the people who kill me while I'm hiding somewhere that seems to be perfectly, well secure. But anyway, where I was going with all this was, is this character a sniper, and what of your experiences have crossed over between the two?
Yeah, so for people listening in, the millions of fans around the world, no doubt, I do a military action franchise for Sony called Sniper, where man, I think we could be doing the 8th one in the franchise soon. I'm not at liberty to say, but it looks like we might be filming another one soon, which is great.
Nice.
For those that don't know, that was the original Sniper. Came out in the early 90s. It was Tom Berenger, Billy Zane. And for the last 4 movies, I played Tom Berenger's son, Brandon Beckett, kind of the new Sniper, and have a blast doing those movies. Really great, running around with 50 cal monster guns and taking out big bads all across the world. But that's what Kevin was referencing there. In terms of Call of Duty, my character Alex, I mean, they wrote an incredible bio on the Call of Duty website on Alex and who he is and what his background is, what does he do, how does he function in these situations and environments. And it was kind of like, oh man, I wish I had this going into filming. But it's really cool. He's CIA, and he's what's called CIA SAD, Special Activities Division. So basically, he is kind of one of these off the grid sort of operatives where, sometimes because of politics or policy, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the armed forces, they can't get in there and do some of the things they need to do. And this is where Alex's character comes in. He's kind of more of a top secret commando. He's kind of into clandestine operations. He goes somewhere, represents, the state's interests, and he gathers intel and sabotages and is all about counterinsurgency, counterterrorism for enemies of the state. He's kind of the guy who has no real identity. He's the guy who goes in there and gets his hands dirty, embeds himself with the allies in that situation, learns the language, learns the people, trains them up, and they kind of do the guerrilla warfare thing on the sly with no kind of paper trail. So this is kind of Alex's character. He has to be adaptable, flexible. Does he pick up a sniper rifle? I guess that's up to the player,
Oh, okay. So it is a playable character and not just an NPC.
Yeah, the
Oh
cool thing
wow.
about the cool thing about this character is you'll play as him a lot, if not the most, of all the characters in the story campaign, and you really start to see this situation. The backdrop of the game is really, they really wanted to lean into what does warfare look like in the modern age. It's not black and white. It's not good guys versus bad guys. The allies versus the Axis powers. It's really gray. The superpowers don't go toe to toe into warfare anymore. What they do is they kind of fight their battles by proxy, as they call it. They have an interest in this part of the world, and so does this country. They're kind of enemies, but they can't just come at each other. So they kind of fight a proxy war in these little territories and countries, and they both get their allies, and they kind of duke it out behind the scenes because they can't afford to have World War III, right? So no one wants to provoke each other that far, but everyone still has interests in the area. So really, my character Alex gets embedded with some freedom fighters in a fictional Middle Eastern country called Urzikstan, and he gets introduced to Farah, who's the leader of the militia there, the freedom fighters, and her brother Hadir, played by Claudia Dumit and Aidan Bristow, wonderful actors. Excuse me. And I kind of get to see, the players get to see through my eyes what it's like to come up through a country that's been occupied by Russians for decades. What that looks like when you also are trying to fight for your people's freedom and do it honorably, but also there's a terrorist faction who wants to win their freedom by any means necessary, no matter the collateral damage, and how they come at odds. So it's a really interesting look at how modern warfare is so morally gray. And I think the game developers really wanted to put the players in those situations where it's like, do you pull the trigger on this or not? Is that a threat or is it not? Because this is what our real life soldiers, servicemen and women, have to go through over there. It's foreign territory, and there are no lines in the sand really, and nothing is drawn up. There's no handbook for this type of warfare. So this is kind of what the players get to see through Alex's eyes, and stakes and the toll that it takes him, but also know he's fighting a good fight on behalf of good people, and kind of where that takes us as the story unfolds.
Wow. That that sounds like a hell of a game. Think that everyone watching right now, Jeremy Davies, yes, it is live. And Mike Smith, yes, it is live. Nicolette, of course, it's live. And so all of you folks need to go and pick this up. Pre-order it because hey, there's still a few days left. Um, so well, you mentioned backstory. What out of his backstory can you tell us? I mean, besides besides what
Alex's
he
backstory?
does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the only person who knows Alex's backstory is Alex, really.
Oh, okay.
His record has kind of been wiped clean. And, according to the bio that they kind of put up on the Call of Duty website, he's former Army Delta, and he basically has no ties to family. He's a chameleon. He is basically nameless, faceless. He's the guy who, there can't be any sort of record of him. He's that guy who goes in there and does that thing, whatever is necessary. So in terms of a backstory, no one really knows. And I'm sure Alex has seen enough of the world that he's probably forgotten where he's come from at this point. He's had so many aliases and been in so many different skirmishes and fights and representing so many interests that he'd probably be at a loss to tell you where he was born.
There you go. So when it comes to the mocap and and working with the directors and with the other actors, by the way, did you get a chance to work with the other actors directly? Were you in the same room?
Yeah, absolutely. What we filmed was a combination of the really great cinematic cutscenes that you've been seeing a lot of in the various trailers that have been released. Those were just completely start to finish, action to cut, acted scenes. We did all together as the actors, like you kind of would traditionally in TV and film. But then there's also a lot of scene work that we did, where perhaps after a cut scene, now you'll start getting put in the player's boots, and leading up to the mission that you go and and go off on. There's a bunch of characters interacting, and you have to go and pick up their grenades, or you have to go and pick up the night vision goggles, and the characters are talking about what you need to do, whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, you are the character, and then you go off and run in the mission. So we got to shoot a lot of those mission openings and a lot of those mission closings in that way as well.
Right on. So when it comes to what's next for your video game stuff? Do you have anything on the hook now? I mean, this is a big deal, man. You're gonna make everybody sad in your television and movie worlds with with as much traction as you're gonna get off of this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hope I have that problem, Kevin. Us actors are always looking for the next one. So, so far the phone hasn't rang. Can you believe it?
It's about to.
Yeah, I'm honestly just excited to see how well it's received. Fans have been excited about this for months. I mean, 8 years since the last Modern Warfare installment. So I know there's been a lot of hype. There's been a lot of buzz. There's been tons of pre-orders. We expect to be hot out of the gates, come Friday, and people playing through it all that day and all that weekend. And we're all prepared for spoilers if we don't get there fast enough on our own to see, what happens and what unfolds, because, the internet loves the spoiler. Yeah. So, but from what I read, and, I try not to get too caught up in the hype, but, they're anticipating this could be the best-selling game of the year. And I know the goal, from the developer, from the publisher, and everybody involved, they work so hard. This is over 3 years in the making. They want to win all the Game of the Year awards. They wanted to tell something brand new and original and compelling and interesting. They really wanted to create a really interactive, playable version of like a Zero Dark 30 movie, gritty, real, in your face. And I expect them to check all those boxes. I really, really do. I think once players strap up for this, it's going to be something like they've never signed up for, before. So I'm really just excited to see what success it has out of the gates and how people respond to it, and how much they enjoy, hopefully playing Alex and going on the ride with him. But, I love this world. It was a great experience filming this game. I love video games of all shapes and sizes, retro to the ultra modern. And so to work more in this arena would be, a dream come true. Hopefully Warcraft keeps going to the point where I can do a voice before that massive franchise kind of goes away. That would be a bucket list thing for me, since I've been playing for 10 plus years. So, but I'm open to all possibilities.
Yeah.
Have your people call mine.
Listen, I figure, when it comes to something like Warcraft, then they've gone and rebooted their vanilla version, and that was a big deal. And I feel like, as a guy who played Warcraft, not World of, but I played Warcraft. I played Warcraft 2 and 3 and competed in 2 and 3. And yeah, back when it was an entirely different game, right? But then they said, oh, World of Warcraft, we're going to use these styles of characters, which was a great idea, and make it into an MMO, and that was one of the early ones, obviously. But I feel like eventually they gotta bring it into the ultra modern and make an ultra modern version, of that world. Just like, you see things like Final Fantasy, for example. You see those, and they have iterative, leaps in how advanced they are. And I figure Warcraft has waited so long because, hey, they've had that income and they didn't have to, but eventually they must. At some point that those ultra pixelated characters are going to get tiresome to people other than me, and they've got to go and hire new voice actors to go and do the new versions of these characters, or the new versions of the heroes and villains. But
yeah, it's fun. It's a fun world. I was really lucky with Modern Warfare to step into the shoes and really originate a character. A lot of times video game actors and the voice actors, the character doesn't look like them, or they're just doing the voice. And I think that used to be kind of the old way before the technology got so rich and developed, is that you would traditionally hire stunt actors, someone who could do the physicality no matter what the game called for, and then you'd have voice actors go in a booth and just kind of breathe that life into the character. But I think now for that really immersive storytelling with the technology getting exponentially bigger and better every single year, I think there's almost no way you can't use really good actors to tell these stories, and they have to be able to do it all. You know, the movement, the face, the voice, capture it
those
all.
stunts.
Yeah, I mean, every little thing is captured. You know,
Yeah.
there is like a face cam rig that we wear. I mean, there's a super ultra high def camera staring back at us a foot away. Like every single twitch of the eye, every eyebrow wrinkle, it's all right there, and it's that's how in depth and detail that these things are. So, you know, they are bringing in a lot more, I think, TV and film actors, because they need those subtle nuances. They need that emotional arc to be breathed into these characters in that way, especially the games that really want to tell those kind of dramatic stories and take players for a really, really big, fun ride. So I don't know. I hope it leads to more opportunities. You know, it's always kind of flattering for the ego to have the character look like you, but with some upgrades like a mustache and like an arm sleeve, which is really cool. But I just remember filming, you know, that my co-stars, and I'd mentioned Claudia and Aiden and Barry Sloan, who plays Captain Price, and Elliot Knight, who plays Sergeant Kyle Garrick, who's another playable character. It's British SAS. They were awesome. Everybody on that stage was like a kid in a candy store. I mean, they've all worked in TV and film. Like, they've all done really well in their careers in that way, but there's something about being immortalized in a video game that everybody was just giddy every single time we got called in to shoot some more scenes. So I know that it's just a whole kind of new weird bucket list animal for everybody. I don't know. Maybe they're all gamers growing up like I was, but there was such excitement no matter what kind of TV and film success they had. It was kind of like this somehow just got bumped to the top.
That sounds awesome, man. So, you know, just so you know, I'm hoping that that once you have you know, Untitled new project with Doug Pasco, that there's a video game version of that, because there's something. Well, you know, we can't talk about that yet, but there's something that deserves a video game, sir. But talking about your other stuff, what can you tell us about? You know, getting outside of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, much as it's awesome, much as it's coming out on Friday, you've got a lot of stuff. You've got a lot of depth, sir, and I want to know what else you have going on right now.
What else? Well, obviously, Modern Warfare is the big one, and
Right.
very excited, like I said. But yeah, I think we're gonna ramp up and possibly do another sniper movie. You know, I'm never really at liberty to say if and where and when, but you know, I can kind of hint and tease that we'll probably have another one in the works sooner rather than later, which I'm excited about. And I'm in the season 1 finale of Creepshow, which is the AMC Shudder streaming service. Yeah, so they have done kind of an anthology series based on the old George Romero, Stephen King kind of cult campy movies that were from the early 80s that influenced a generation of directors and visual effects artists and everything else. So I got to play on one of those episodes as in a lead role, which is actually really fun. I'm very much looking forward to it, because it's something unlike I've never done before.
Now, have you shot it yet or no?
We did. We shot it earlier this year. It's an episode called Skin Crawlers, and it's about a man who is a bit overweight, and he's looking for a quick fix. So he comes to Dr. Sloan to check out a new miracle procedure, and things perhaps go awry.
Oh my!
That's what I could say at this point. But I had such fun shooting that, and from everything that I've been seeing, that the series has been really well received, and from what I've seen, it's really entertaining. Yeah, so that's coming out the week of Halloween, and I think I have a Christmas movie that I shot last year that should be coming out at some point. You know, November, December. I'm still waiting to hear when and where that will pop. Called the Christmas Cabin, which we filmed up in on top of a Utah mountain, which is really scenic and gorgeous and picturesque, and you know, fun little rom-com type holiday movie. So those are those are the kind of the big ones. Those are the ones that are next up for me.
So you had a rom-com last year. So you had some Christmas movie last year, right? Something
Yeah,
like Lifetime or something like that.
yeah. It was for Ion Television called Christmas Cupid's Arrow.
There you go.
Uh, yeah, it was quite fun. I played an attorney who, you know, wants to be a good guy, bit of a player, but it was a blast to do. It's always fun to step outside of the military shoes, those spit shine boots,
Right.
and go and put on the old attorney digs, or in the Creep Showcase, the Dr. Sloan slick suit, being the pitch man, the hype man for something like that. That's a great thing about television and film is no two roles are alike, and you get a
Yeah.
chance to really do some box stuff, and it's always interesting to have that variety, and keeps me excited about stuff.
Well, and speaking of horror type stuff, you did the very crossover horror High Moon, which just recently hit DVD. What, this past summer, right? And
Yep.
uh, and then weren't you on some sort of like a Hulu show or something like that recently?
Yeah, I did. It's probably a couple years old now, and unfortunately, it only went 2 seasons. But I did a series for Hulu called Freakish, which
Oh.
was yeah, kind of a fun kind of a post-apocalyptic
I
sort of.
watched the first one and you hadn't appeared yet, and I'm like, all right, now I gotta just find out what episode he's in. So what episode are you in? Where do I need to start to see the Chad character?
I think they were season one. I think was about 10 episodes, and I came in at the end of episode 8, and then did 9 and 10. That season one finale, and I played a bad man, bad
Ah,
man.
all right.
It was actually kind of fun. It was kind of fun to play the other shade of the military character. This guy was more of a mercenary with bad intentions.
Okay.
So that was fun. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned High Moon. I know Halloween's right around the corner,
Perfect
and
time to pick that up.
yeah, yeah, it's an action horror western. Werewolves, an undead gunslinger, brought back from the old west into the modern day, hunting down a pack of werewolves as the werewolves kind of savage a small town in the deep south, and come across a biker gang and steal their motorcycles. And it's quite a fun mashup of genres, and definitely a project that I enjoyed shooting and I enjoyed promoting this past summer, and seemed to be really well received. It was really
That
really
was
quite a
fun,
fun, entertaining 90 minutes. Yeah.
for sure. So so what else? So beyond your own stuff, I mean, so you've caught us up to date on what you have going on. What else are you into? What are you looking at for comics online? We talk everything geek pop culture. So you know, Troy and I talk comics every week. We talk television and movies and games. What sorts of media are you particularly interested in right now?
Oh man, if I could do it full time, I would, and I'm sure you know how that feels.
Mm.
It's funny enough. After this, I am actually going to my Dungeons and Dragons group, and we are playing through the Horde of the Dragon Queen, or Heist of the Dragon Queen campaign right now. And so we just hit level 4 last week, so all of our characters are ready to use our new abilities as we continue adventuring, chasing down this evil dragon in service of Tiamat. So yeah, D&D, big time. I mentioned earlier Magic the Gathering. I'm still a huge fan. I've been playing that since I was in high school,
Wow.
which was like 1937. So I've been playing Magic.
All the cards were in black and white then, I understand.
Yeah, exactly. Still love it.
And don't
We
don't feel too old. I actually remember when that game was released as a new game, and at that point I was already early into parenthood. So yeah.
Well, no, I don't think I was quite into Parenthood, but pretty darn close when that game was released.
I was telling Kevin.
Troy, if you if you did play that game, Troy, back in the day with the early sets, I hope you held on to those cards because
They weren't actually mine.
There's your child's secondary education right there.
Well, those cards actually weren't mine. A friend introduced me to gameplay, so I kind of quickly cottoned on. I came from a pen and paper RPG, so like you were mentioning a D&D group. I used to in high school, in my senior year in high school, I had a group that would get together anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week after school.
Wow.
And we'd play 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. We did a lot of world building as well as character building. So we would pour through the books, and we would you'd buy a module and you'd take a keep from one module and then a town from a different module, and you'd mix and match the pieces together. And then when you actually played it, anyone who bought the books still didn't know what was coming.
There you go.
Right.
But back then, Gary Gygax was still alive and was still with the company.
So,
Well, it's great.
what I wanted to ask you was, which version of D&D are you running? Because there are so many out now. Which version are you running?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just playing the 5th edition.
Oh, 5th edition. Okay.
Like that.
I just
Yeah,
recently
just
bought it.
recently what?
I just recently
Okay.
finally bought, because I stopped at second ed. I saw the demos of third ed when at San Diego Comic-Con way back in the day, however long ago that was, and took a demo, and I was like, they got rid of they totally changed up the game mechanics, and so I'm not quite sure I'm going to get this version, and I just never did. And just kind of fell out of it. It was that time, I had a little kid and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then
It's time consuming. It's fun, but it's time consuming.
it is. But like I said, I just recently bought 5th ed, and so now I'm raring to go. I need to get some locals like Troy in on a game.
Yeah, well, I've moved on completely to other game systems since D&D. Back in the 1980s, TSR had just a blue million different genre games, and then TSR went away, and I started getting into other game systems and other game genres. I haven't played D&D since 2nd edition, although I still like swords and sorcery fantasy, but I'd also gotten into superheroes and high-level spies and hardcore science fiction and crossover games, like your Shadowruns, Cyberpunks, games like that. If you've never played Shadowrun, that's a lot of fun. You get your high technology and swords and sorcery and dragons mixed together.
Well, cool.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. I know you guys started out, in your formative years playing D&D, and now, life gets in the way of your playing, and it's hard to kind of get back in, right?
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I grew up in a town of 2,500 people, and I lived 8 miles outside of that town.
Oh, geez.
So, when I was in there, I mean, I always towed the line between, being a bit of a sports guy, a sports kid, sort of jock, but then also a nerd. I had my nerd friends where after football practice, we'd go to like the local, public library, and then we'd go sling magic cards for 2 hours. So this was always my existence. However, with D&D, I would devour the novels. I would, when Baldur's Gate and these games started coming out for PC, I love these games. But I was doing everything D&D related, except you learn the hard way when you're kind of out and ostracized in the middle of the countryside that you need other people to play D&D proper. So I'm making up for lost time now. I'm in 2 campaigns currently, and just like had, like the 13-year-old version of myself is just like making up for all those years that I really wanted to play and had the time, and now I'm making the time to do it.
Awesome. So you grew up like in New York, like upstate New York somewhere? Wasn't that the case?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then now you're what? You must be in LA somewhere, yeah?
Yeah, I've been in LA for almost half my life at this point now.
Oh, geez.